Alright, so we're going to go over the meteorology unit. So it's going to be about the study of air that surrounds the Earth. We're going to focus on atmosphere basics, weather, severe weather, and human impact on the atmosphere. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and we'll scoot on over to our first area, which was just general information about the atmosphere, or atmosphere basics. So under atmosphere basics, you can see there are a couple things you want to focus on studying. So to start off with, you're going to look at the layers. You have the troposphere, the layer we live in, where you have weather and all of your clouds. You have temperature decreasing as you go up. The stratosphere is next. The stratosphere has the ozone layer, temperature inversion, which means it gets warmer as you go up instead of colder. And that's because the ozone layer is trapping our UV radiation. Then it's the mesosphere, where you have most of your meteorites burning up, and followed by the thermosphere, which is composed of the exosphere and ionosphere. Exosphere is the furthest out, ionosphere is directly below it. And pressure, you want to remember, decreases with height, so you have less pressure as you go up. And then with clouds, you want to remember your classifications. You classify by height and shape. So your heights are either low clouds, stratus, middle, alto, high, cirro, and then you have your shape. It's either fluffy, cumulus, flat, stratus, or wispy, cirrus. So that's the basics. Now, we also want to go ahead and take a look at some of the things that are going to produce weather when we're looking at the unit. So I'm going to scoot down here to our weather. Now, the first thing we want to focus in on under weather would be instruments. The instruments you want to remember for the test: barometer for air pressure, psychrometer or hygrometer for relative humidity, anemometer for wind speed, and ceilometer for the height of clouds. You also want to remember your fronts. You have occluded fronts associated with dangerous weather like thunderstorms and tornadoes, and characterized as a cold front chasing a warm front. You have a warm front, warm air, that advances and settles in for a long steady rain. Cold fronts that advance quickly and cause air to rise rapidly, creating heavy rain. And then stationary fronts that stay the same and for a long period of time. Then you have your pressures. You have low pressure associated with storms from the rising air creating clouds, and high pressure associated with clear sky from sinking air that's not going to create clouds. Wind systems, you want to remember from what we talked about in class. You have your equator, followed by your trade winds above on either side, and then your prevailing westerlies and your polar easterlies. And last but not least, your weather station models, where you have the circle with the dot that shows you exactly what temperature or dew point was at any given point in time. So those are your weather things you want to keep in mind. So now let's go over to severe weather. Now severe weather, there are three main highlights. You have thunderstorms characterized as having lightning, thunder, hail, rain, cumulonimbus clouds. Then tornadoes have all of those things plus a supercell cloud that creates a spinning vortex, which is actually the tornado or the funnel that's going to come down from the cloud. And it's measured with the Fujita scale. And then you have hurricanes, which are low pressure systems that form over warm water. And it causes, again, low pressure, rising air, so it's going to rise over the warm water, pulling up that moisture, creating a spinning cloud or system of clouds that's actually hundreds of miles wide. So our tornadoes are smaller with less warning. Hurricanes are larger and they last a long time, but they have a lot of warning. And then our thunderstorms are something that are more frequent. Now, last but not least, we want to look at human impact, sorry about that, on our atmosphere. So we impact our atmosphere in a lot of different ways. So when you're looking at your frames and things, you want to keep in mind, how would that affect our atmosphere? Well, we have three main ways that we can think of. Global warming. So global warming would be the first one. It's greenhouse gases like CO2, methane, and water vapor actually are going to cause radiation to be trapped in the atmosphere and the Earth to actually heat up. Then you have ozone depletion caused by CFCs or chlorofluorocarbons, and those are the ones that deplete and then leave a hole in the atmosphere, in the ozone's atmosphere, of the atmosphere rather. And allow UV radiation to reach the surface. And last but not least, you have air pollution, such as anything that comes out of industry for the most part, unfortunately. But air pollution is going to create things like smog and acid rain that are not good for the environment.